gonna get me out of here in broad daylight, do the job, and then get me back in here before anyone notices?
Yep.
This is Jimmy Logan, once a rising football star, now a loving father, and a man just trying to hold his life together. While fixing his truck, he eagerly explains the story behind his favorite John Denver song to his daughter Sadie. Jimmy once had a promising future, but a career-ending foot injury crushed his dreams and pushes him into working with a construction company. Sadie is a smart and witted, wide-eyed young girl busy preparing for an upcoming beauty pageant. But just as Jimmy tries to stay afloat, he gets laid off because he didn't declare the limp in his legs on his hiring paperwork, and that's a breach of contract due to a contingent liability for the company. Still determined to be a good father, he goes to his sister Millie's salon to pick up Sadie for her dance practice, only to realize the rehearsal was actually the day before. Feeling guilty, he heads to his ex-wife Bobby's massive home. She now lives with her wealthy husband, Moody, and her twin boys. Jimmy apologizes for mixing up the dates and notices a for sale sign. Bobby reveals she's moving out of state as her husband's work is expanding, and since she has full custody, Sadie will be going with them. Jimmy is devastated. He can't stand the idea of his daughter living so far away, so he knows he needs money, either to move or to hire a lawyer. Jimmy goes to his younger brother's bar. Clyde is a war veteran who lost his arm in Iraq just before coming home. He also believes the Logan family is cursed, citing all the incidences the family has faced till now. While the brothers are arguing, Max, a flashy NASCAR team owner, walks in with his buddies. Max is an attention-hungry influencer who films everything he does. He makes a rude comment about Clyde's missing arm, triggering Jimmy. Clyde grabs a bottle from the bar and heads outside and sets Max's car on fire. Max and his friends run outside to see the car burning and start filming the scene. Jimmy grabs their phones and throws them into the fire, then turns to Clyde and says the word cauliflower.
Hey, this is a crime scene. Did you just say cauliflower to me?
The next morning, Jimmy and Clyde sit down for breakfast.
The last time you said that word to me, I ended up getting sent down for 6 months.
It was juvie.
But this time, Jimmy has a plan, a big one, to rob Charlotte Motor Speedway. He discovered how NASCAR stores and transports its money using secure pneumatic tubes under the track. The tube system moves money from the various cash registers into the bank vault at the center of the speedway. Jimmy wants to rob the biggest event in the country. To crack the vault, they only need one man, Joe Bang, an expert safecracker. The brothers visit Joe Bang at the jail. Joe laughs at their proposal. He's not convinced to partake and says he just needs to serve 5 more months and had money saved for after his release. Clyde tells him that his brother Fish told his wife Misty about the stashed cash from Joe's last bust, and the very next day, Misty dug up the cash and ran away with some truck driver to Florida. Now broke, Joe agrees to join the heist if he could bring in his 2 brothers, Fish and Sam. Jimmy explains that the bank vault's alarms are turned off due to all the construction work going on at the speedway. The plan is to get Joe out of prison in bold daylight, do the job, and then bring Joe back to the prison before anyone notices that he's gone. At the Easter Fair, the brothers meet Joe's dim-witted brothers. Sam and Fish are reluctant to join the team, therefore need a moral reason to break the law.
We're living with the Lord now. You gotta have a good reason to break the law.
Clyde makes up a fake story, and they agree. Later, Joe meets up with his brothers. Fish and Sam retrieve a mysterious package from a man dressed as a bear in the woods. Meanwhile, Clyde intentionally crashes his car into a convenience store at a gas station. Because he's a veteran, the judge gives him 90 days, sending him into the same prison as Joe. From inside, Clyde and Joe quietly start preparing. Jimmy continues to be an amazing father. He takes Sadie to the salon, helps her with her self-tan, and even catches the attention of Sylvia, a healthcare worker who is a junior at school. She notices a painful wound on his face and offers him a tetanus shot for free, explaining her clinic is supported through donations. At the same time, Millie is deeply involved in Jimmy's plan. She knows cars better than anyone and gives Clyde the exact measurements needed for building special wooden exhaust covers that will help him and Joe escape the prison. As part of the next phase, Jimmy goes to his old construction office to collect few of his stuffs and sneaks in to steal blueprints of the sinkholes under the NASCAR track. But on his way out, he runs into his former boss, who admits he still feels bad firing Jimmy. Worse, he tells Jimmy the sinkholes are almost fully repaired and wrapping up ahead of schedule. That means the crew will relocate soon, and the heist must happen 1 week earlier than planned. That is, on the day of the Coca-Cola 600, the busiest NASCAR race of the year. Jimmy refuses to abandon the mission and informs Clyde about the schedule changes. Millie also switches to Plan B. At the Speedway office, Gleema receives a colorful cake from an unknown person. Though it's not her birthday, why waste the cake? She shares it with the other employees, but before she could eat hers, she gets called to fill some paperwork as someone smashed her car. Pretending to be construction workers, Fish and Sam release color-coded red, pink, and white cockroaches in the pneumatic tubes that are attracted to the birthday cake mailed earlier to Gleema. It's to know exactly which tube leads to the main vault. They later call Jimmy from a payphone and inform him it's code pink. Finally, it's race day. Time to execute the heist. Joe drinks a lot of contaminated tap water and goes to have lunch. Then he eats every last bit of his meal and throws up on the warden. He's rushed to the infirmary and hooked up to IV fluids. After a bit, he begs the nurse to make him use the commode instead of the bedpan. Clyde steps in, offering to escort him instead. Once inside the bathroom, Joe removes the tools he had hidden before and carefully removes the tissue holder hatch. They go inside and shut it behind. The passage leads directly to the tool shed. They then slide in the special wooden exhaust covers they had built earlier under one of the prison's trucks and slip into the hollow space. At the checkpoint, they remain undetected and successfully crawl out of the hiding spot. Meanwhile, inside the cafeteria, few inmates start a staged brawl as planned by Joe earlier. The warden, too arrogant to accept help from outside officers, orders the facility on lockdown. This gives Joe the window they need. Meanwhile, Millie arrives at Sadie's pageant with Bobby and leaves them. She steals Moody's car and picks up Joe and Clyde at the gas station stop and gives them fresh clothes and Clyde's prosthetic arm. The trio heads straight to the Speedway sinkhole where Jimmy is waiting. At the Coca-Cola race venue, Fish and Sam set off a tiny explosive that knocks out the card machines, forcing all vendors to accept cash only. This floods the pneumatic tubes with money and keeps the vault constantly receiving cash bags. Clyde and Joe reach the venue and go straight to the garbage disposal area. Clyde pushes Joe down the garbage chute into the underground tunnel system.
My bleach pens.
2 bleach pens in a plastic bag, as requested.
From there, Joe mixes bleach, gummy bears, and low-sodium salt into a plastic bag to make it into a chemical explosive.
Hold on, that's it.
We're supposed to believe that that's the thing?
Jimmy and Clyde are baffled. They expected real dynamite, but Joe swears by his concoction. Joe then slides the explosive into the tube and runs behind a wall, followed by Jimmy and Clyde. They waited for the blast, but does not happen. The tube pushes back the explosive right back at them.
That's coming back.
Joe carefully takes it from Clyde to see what's wrong.
I twisted the bat too many times.
Then he pushes it back to the tube, and it works, blowing open the vault. Smoke begins leaking out through the tubes above, alerting the securities. Down below, Jimmy hooks up a massive vacuum system that sucks the raining cash straight out of the vault into huge garbage bags. Fish and Sam are on their way out with the cash, but are stopped by the securities and ask about the smoke, but they get away giving some lame excuse. Feeling something isn't right, the guards scan the area and find smoke coming from a room. When they open, they find Earl, a friend of the Logans, smoking. At the exit gate, Joe comes to find Fish and Sam struggling to open the gate. While the three of them are trying to open it, Jimmy comes and opens it. Meanwhile, on the racetrack, Max, the same man who insulted Clyde, is managing his driver Dayton White. Dayton, now obsessed with clean eating, refuses to drink Max's energy drink, but Max forces him, reminding him of their contract. The sugar overload sends Dayton spiraling, leading to a massive crash. While Max and Dayton argue about the accident, Clyde and Joe walk by.
Hey, you're that guy.
Nellie should have been back by now.
They leave the venue with Millie. Jimmy quietly exits the speedway, discards his disguise, and drives off with the cash safely loaded. Back at the prison, as planned earlier, the inmates stage a small fire and make the alarm go off, forcing the warden to call firefighters. Clyde and Joe are in fact at the back of the fire truck and quietly sneak back into the prison. Millie arrives just in time to help Sadie prepare for her pageant performance. As Sadie stands on the stage and looks around for her father, Jimmy comes in just in time. She changes her song at the last second and sings Country Roads, her father's favorite. Later, Jimmy's at a gas station and hitches a ride. The next morning, there's news on the radio that Anonymous called in alerting the police that the stolen money can be found at a gas station in a truck. Clyde, once released, moves in with Millie. Both siblings cut contact with Jimmy, believing he ruined everything. Joe is furious as well. Meanwhile, FBI agent Sarah Grayson takes over the investigation. Max claims he saw Joe and Clyde at the race, but she dismisses it as personal grudge. For 6 months, she chases leads, but everything points to airtight alibis. The Speedway ultimately orders her to drop the case. After the FBI drops the case, Joe finds a garbage bag full of money buried in his backyard. Sylvia receives an anonymous donation for her mobile clinic. The inmate who started the riot receives an envelope stuffed with cash. And even Gleema finds a box full of cash in her car.
You seriously want to trust these two with our lives?
They're gonna know what we want them to know.
A flashback reveals Jimmy, Clyde, and Millie filled another set of garbage bags while Joe and his brothers were stuck at the gate, which Jimmy hijacked with a West Virginia magnet, trying to drive the first set of bags to Jimmy's truck.
I ain't paid the bill. Figured as long as they was tapping my phone, they keep it on. About a week ago, it finally went dead.
The gang reunites at Clyde's bar. All the stolen money wasn't lost. Millie had secretly taken the second set of bags, loaded them into a garbage truck, and Earl dumped them at the city disposal grounds. Jimmy later retrieved the cash once he realized the FBI had stopped tapping him. Just as the team celebrates with drinks, Agent Grayson shows up at the bar. She exchanges a flirtatious smile with Clyde, but her eyes tell a different story. She's suspicious, and she's not going anywhere.